What is it like to be a divorced or separated parent with kids? Part of the series, Mediation Tips by Fran. That is our topic for this recording. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcast. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact dependent. Hey everyone, Mac Pierre here, attorney, mediator, and arbitrator, working throughout Houston, Texas, all Texas, and all throughout Florida.
And I am Natalia Orłowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland.
And I'm Fran Brochstein. I'm a Texas attorney and mediator.
And we're here today as mediators and attorneys with family law backgrounds to talk to you about what is it really like to be a divorced or separated parent with kids. Many of you might think that, oh, once I get separated, once I get divorced, things will just go fantastic because all these things will be over. And this is not absolutely true. Once you are divorced or separated, you are facing new reality for yourself and new reality for your kids of co-parenting. If by that stage you already mediated your mediated settlement agreement regarding parenting, you are very lucky. If not, you're facing this new reality, including quite a lot of interesting points we would love to cover for you. And I'll start with one. Please remember, you will not have the children for all holidays, which will involve your very interesting and cautious planning on how and when you can really plan your own holiday coinciding with having kids with you, and making sure that it really doesn't come into the way with the holiday plans the other parent has.
From my experience, I've never had a child complain about having two Christmases. And I was very, very fortunate that my ex-husband and I planned birthday parties together so that we could share the expense. And I invited my folks, he invited his parents, and I think the kid really enjoyed having everyone together without any disharmony or conflicts.
So, my experience, this is something that comes up all the time, right? Whenever you have a custody case or parents are split, the issue of the holidays, it's almost like people don't think through that this is going to be a consequence, that this is going to be issue that your children will have to deal with. In a way, you may have imagined that you were always going to be having family Christmases around the tree or always be having group gatherings for Thanksgiving. But one of the consequences that does happen when you are split up and you have children is all of a sudden you have to rearrange. Now that trips that you had planned before, where folks would be coming from out of state to come have Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner with you, aren't going to happen the way you might have thought. Or traditions that you might have pre-planned or imagined that you would have, such as opening up gifts together every Christmas morning on December 25th. That's not going to happen now. So you have to do things differently. And so this is why it's important when you're going through a split up, when you're at a mediation, or why doing it at the mediation and working out the details of that split at mediation is better oftentimes than going to court, because a judge will probably do what? Order Christmas on odd years to one parent, order Christmas on even years to the other. And then there you go. Just got to live within the confines. But if you're able to do some kind of settlement agreement that where you share, maybe you split that day up, right? One parent in the morning, one parent in the evening, or one parent gets Christmas Eve, the other one gets Christmas Day. Those things are flexible. I've done that many times in different mediation agreements. Any other thoughts on that, guys? Any other fixes or repairs you've had to do to customize a fix for people for the holidays?
Well, I like mediation because it's so flexible and because you can listen to the parties. I've done some very unusual arrangements for people that celebrate, for example, holidays that are not Christmas and Thanksgiving. And so I've learned a lot from people from other countries, and we can sit together and try to figure out how to make it work. And that's what I like about mediation is that you don't have to follow the laws. It allows a lot more flexibility and really listening to the people and listening to what the kids really like.
And
Exactly.
I remember one of the mediations when I was going with my client, still as an attorney, to a very good mediator. And we were absolutely certain, me and her, that we were not going to settle. The parties were already quarreling about the first Holy Communion to the kid, being Catholics. They already quarreled about baptism, and both these cases ended up in the court. So me going there was just like, we thought it was just going to be a 15 minutes courtesy. And after 2 hours, we had all settled with such unusual arrangements, like really them planning holidays in their favorite resort, just knowing that the first one will be having the first week, the other one will be having the second week, which then saves the burden of travel to long distant places to the kids. So you should never give up on hope that there can be an agreement reached.
All right, back on topic on what it is like to be a divorced or separated parent with kids. Point number two, you have no control on what happens at your ex's home. So, Fran, why don't you open this one up? What do you mean you have no control over what happens in your ex's home?
Well, I often get people that complain that the child doesn't have their own bedroom. And I don't know about other states or other countries, but in Texas, the Texas Family Code does not micromanage families. And so a child in Texas actually is not even required to have a bed. They can just have a sleeping bag on the floor. And just because I like to use the example of changing a diaper, just because mommy knows how to change a diaper a certain way, as long as daddy changes the diaper, even if he does it wrong, it's fine. You cannot micromanage everything that goes on at the other house. You know, just because you feed the kid one thing at dad's house, unless the child has an allergy or some other unusual need, the other parent could feed the child basically whatever they want to feed.
So, again, this is one of those things like we could talk about for hours. When I used to work for the Attorney General's office, the Child Support Division, there were frequent times where there would be, let's say, it would be a young mom, and she would possibly be breastfeeding, possibly not. It depends on what stage we are, in this. Sometimes a child might be a little older, but typically these kids are under 3 years old, right? And I heard oftentimes where the mom might say, well, he does not know how X, Y, and Z, or I don't trust him and how he's going to do X, Y, and Z at his home. And a lot of times we would tell the other parent, well, he can learn. Or doesn't he have a mother? I mean, he can be taught. Because there was always this tendency to want to, I guess, dictate what happens in the other parent's home. And I think a lot of parents who might be listening or watching this know what I'm talking about because this happens all the time. And so uh, I, I get it. There's parents have fear and worry over their own children, and they don't want their children to be without or to be neglected or to be not cared for properly. It's just that one of the consequences of having two households is that unless there's trust between the mom and the dad, unless they work together and try to co-parent effectively and try to build continuity and how you're going to discipline, continuity and how you're going to talk to the child, continuity and how you're going to feed the child and take care of the child, you're going to have all these problems. So I guess the takeaway from me is you got to work together. You got to get on the same page. Micromanaging and dictating is not going to help because you can't control what the other person does in their other home. So that's just a reality check people have to, get with. But again, if you go to a good mediator, you can get those fine prints put into an order that will hopefully make you happy. Natalia?
And please remember, sometimes this home or environment that you have no control of any longer is your own former home. But it doesn't mean that you can influence what's happening there. It doesn't mean that even if you go and pick up the kids from there, you are allowed to open the fridge, check what's there, check the bin, and see what's there. No, it's no longer your place. Main thing that the other parent is responsible and can really look after the child's needs. And if they are looked after a different way, it doesn't mean they are looked after the wrong way. And this feeling of control that the parents have over the other parents and over the kid sometimes can really lead you yourself into trouble, because this is you who stresses, you who worries. Give some trust, some space to the other parent, and trust, because unless you go and try and see, you will not really have knowledge that it is all possible, that it can all work. And in the meantime, instead of worrying, you will just have some time for yourself.
Exactly. All right, I'll take on number three and let Fran open it up. You should, okay, this is point number three on what is it like to be a divorced or separated parent with kids. You should never badmouth the other parent or family so the child can hear it, because this happens quite a bit. Fran?
Right. The kid is 50% you and 50% the other parent. So when you criticize the other parent, you're criticizing 50% of your child. It, this is something I did. I divorced when my daughter was very young, and I would not allow anyone in my family to say anything bad about her dad or about his family. It is not appropriate. The child's job is to love both of you, and your job as a parent is to make sure the child can love both of you. And bad mouthing your ex spouse or other significant other is just not a good idea. Kids need to be kids, they don't need to be involved in what I call adult business.
This is so true, Fran. And what I can add up to that is that the kids remember that. Sometimes we see kids that no longer want to see the other parent, and we ask ourselves why. Usually, the parent that the kids don't want to go to says that, oh, that has been all manipulation. The kids have been manipulated. She or he ordered him not to go. No, sometimes the kids themselves don't want to go into the environment where they hear their mom or dad being criticized, when they feel that they are not welcome because of that. And to that, I can really give an example, and Fran, you really summarize it so well. This is how it works genetically: 50% of the mom, 50% of the father. So um, I remember a case that was really a girl after many years of living in a split family, where the mom used to claim that the father of this child, of this girl, was a real devil. And this kid growing up, developing herself an idea that she's half devil, that led her to serious emotional and psychiatrical problems. And she needed to be treated, including that she really actually escaped home because she didn't know how to handle the fact that she was a devil herself. This is what she believed she was, according to her mom's words. So please remember, things that you say to your kids really influence them a lot. And please remember that to a certain point, kids believe you. If you say those words, the kids will believe that and will act upon it. And this is a very serious responsibility on you as a parent.
Exactly. Children are very trusting on uh, on what their parents say. All right, children naturally want to believe that their parents, who care for them, who love them, are telling them the truth. And a lot of times, kids are just not able to tell the difference between being deceived, deception, and what the actual truth might be. I've heard parents say things like, when my child grows up, they'll figure it out. Well, that might then be the live and let live approach. Okay, just that might just be the best approach you can do if you don't want to go and have a full battle, with your ex over thing that you're putting into the kid's head, because I think every child deserves not to be brainwashed, right? So it's just that I just don't know how we'll ever get rid of this one, of the bad mouthing, because you can't really ever police a parent's home full time to make sure that they don't. And a lot of times it's passive aggressive. It's not even directly, right? It's insidious. It's words. Your father's this or your mother's that, and the parent who does it, they'll deny that they've actually done any kind of damaging thing, but it's actually a form of parental alienation, because you are psychologically destroying a positive relationship that could be growing between the child and their other parent. But again, we could speak on this for hours. Let's move on to the next one. If
Well,
Go
and
ahead.
so to segue to the next topic,
Yep.
I've done a lot of, as an attorney and as a mediator, at puberty, around 12 or 13, I have flipped custody many, many, many times.
Mhm.
And generally, it is because as a child hits puberty, they get tired of being with someone that is completely negative, depressed, angry 24 hours, 7 days a week. And so I encourage parents, both parents, to be the very best person that they can be, because if they're healthy, it's very good for the child, and the child learns how to pick their future spouse or significant other. And I often warn people, if you badmouth your other spouse all the time, or ex spouse or ex significant other, you're teaching your child how to pick their future spouse or significant other.
And this is how we smoothly go into our next point that you need to remember when being a divorced or separating parent with kids. Be at your best physically, emotionally, mentally, so that the child can benefit from your healthy behavior. Here in Poland, we have a saying that says, a good mother is a happy mother. The more you really take care of yourself as a mother, or respectively as a father, the happier you are in your life, meaning having your own hobby, time to cultivate something that is important for you, read a book, watch a good movie, the more you are giving a pattern to your own kids of how to mentally and emotionally take care of themselves in the future. Because kids not only learn from what you want to present to them, they learn by your example. And your example will be serving as the sort of resource for their entire life. Whether you come from work just stressed, shouting, whether you come from how you speak to the other parent, again, all of that is becoming to be imprinted in your kid as a pattern to live their own life in the future. So take care of yourself being a separated or divorced parent.
All right, let's move on because of time.
Yes.
Number five, you should always take the high road when interacting with your ex. Remember, the child is watching. Whenever I think of this high road thing, I think of the podcast discussion we had about a week ago with um, Brett Lovett out of FamilyReconcile.com. And the topic was on deference, right? And deferring to somebody else when you are in the midst of a conflict or a disagreement. You're not always going to see eye to eye. And as parents, sometimes you do have to, turn the other cheek, so to speak, and take the high road when interacting with them. Ladies?
And a lot of times it's the different types of communication style that you use. What I have learned at mediation is to always say, and what does that look like to you? And many times, what people say to me is not what I had anticipated at all. So, a lot of times, people dig in their heels on a certain issue, but if they could just sit and discuss it in kind of a neutral, non hostile or aggressive way, many times you're not that far apart. I think what happens is that people um, feel cornered, and when you feel cornered, you you tend to lash out. So many times I warn people that if a telephone conversation or a text is going badly, take a break. Say, I need to go. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Or text, I need to go. We'll text later. And take a deep breath and calm down instead of escalating it.
Thank you for that. And our next point will be put children first and you yourself as parents into the second place. If you really consider what's best for the kid in this particular situation where you have your own hurt emotions, the other parent have had their own hurt emotions, then stem just stepping out of this role that you of this hurting that you are in and concentrating what the kid would want, what would be something that will be really developing for them, what will be good for them, what will put them into a really good situation, is the perspective you should adopt when being a divorced or separating parent with kids.
All right. And Fran, do you want to add anything else to that on
I
putting
always tell
children first?
the adults, if you're both miserable and the kids are doing great, then obviously you're doing something right. So, and also many times, ask the child what the child wants. Sometimes a kid just what we think a kid wants and what a kid wants may be two totally different things.
Thank you. All right. Number 7, final one. Your child will love both of you. That is the last part of what is it like to be a divorced or separated parent with kids. Your child will love both of you. Go ahead, Fran.
And guess what? As a grandparent, I co grandparent with my ex husband. So this never ends. And so, I encourage people to recognize that once you produce a child, you're basically stuck together as long as that child is alive. And your child's job is to love both of you. And don't try to interfere with that love. They really, I've even done mediations and represented people that, quite frankly, one parent was a jerk, a huge, giant jerk. The kid still loves them.
This also comes back to all the parents that, for example, have addictions. You yourself as a parent can think, wow, how can it be the kid still wants to go to them, whereas they're alcoholics or might have some other addictions. But the kid needs to know the other parents, needs to have their own relationship with them. And that might not be the relationship you desired for the kid, but this is the original parent. And no matter what, your current parents, your current spouse might be a better parent. The natural parent is the parent that the kid has the right to know, to go to, visit, and spend time with.
Yes. And everyone who's listening, none of what we're saying is to take away from when a parent, as Fran mentioned a second ago, is a jerk or sometimes is abusive or harmful, right? There are things that adults, grown adults who should know better, there are things that they do to children to harm them, to hurt them. And the other parent has to intervene and stand in the way and bring in law enforcement, bring in CPS, protective services, the courts, the professionals to come and help protect that child because children cannot defend themselves from a parent who's supposed to be loving them. But what we're saying is that it's a natural tendency, it's just deep in nature that children are going to naturally have the proclivity to love the parents who gave birth to them, right? Who produced them and brought them into the world. It goes down to the child's identity at a psychical level. And so we don't want to interfere with that. Okay. We need to help promote it because it'll make the person, the child, more whole as they grow up and develop and as they start understanding their place in the world and how they're supposed to then show love to other people. All right. That's it, ladies. Do you want to say anything else to wrap up?
Thank you so much. And I hope we covered the most important 7 points of what it is like to be a divorced or separated parent with kids. But we are very happy to, if you those who watch or listen to that want to contact us and want us to cover any other topics with the life examples that we know from our mediation or attorneys dealing with family law practice. And so anybody who would want to catch up with us, please visit instantmediations.com or respectively contact any of us being with you on this podcast today.
All right, Fran, thank you. You want to close us off, Fran?
Well, thank you. Once again, the 20 minutes flew by. We're at 25 minutes, so let's cut this short. And thank you so much.
All right, take care, guys. See you next
Bye.
time.